Okay, all right. I think we're going to get started now. It's 12:15 my time. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to try to make this 30-minute session worth your while and give you something to think about when going forward with curriculum mapping and how that might connect with instruction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. If there's any audio issues of any kind, if you have trouble hearing me, just pop something into the chat. My moderator, Jill, is going to pay attention to that, and she'll let me know if I need to take care of some volume issues or any kind of audio problem. Okay. And I'm going to assume you can see my screen. Jill, can you just tell me if you can see my screen?
Yes, I can.
All right. Fantastic. Hi. All right. So if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask through the session, just so I can get through the information, I'm going to say hold them until the end. I will try to keep about 5 or 10 minutes towards the end. And then if you have a question you want to ask offline, that's totally fine too. We'll give you our information and how you can contact us so that you can get your more specific questions answered. So today we're going to talk about connecting curriculum to instruction using Ogment with Canvas. Now, Ogment and Canvas, that's a partnership that began this past fall. We decided that we needed to really listen to some of our customers who said, you know, hey, we're using Canvas, but one of the things that we really need to incorporate into our Canvas experience is a curriculum mapping to course creation process. So while you can make lessons and you can make courses with Canvas materials, one of the things that we wanted to make sure Canvas customers had access to was the ability to take their curriculum maps, put them online, not a PDF, that's not putting something online, but putting your taking your curriculum maps and turning them from just an electronic copy online into a digital experience, meaning you have control over what your reporting will look like and what you'll be reporting on. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to just sort of walk you through very quickly the overarching what Ogment covers inside of it, and then we will give you some examples of how that might be used. So Ogment began as a needing to answer a problem, which was we had a lot of people we worked with in the districts who said, you know, we're not really able to get the most out of our curriculum mapping as it is now. We do curriculum map and we lesson plan, but those two things don't usually live in the same system, and they don't usually talk to each other in a digital way. So while you may be building out lesson plans that are going back to your curriculum maps for the particular grade subjects that you might be working with, what you don't have is a system where you can leverage one to communicate with the other and thereby keep track of alignment, usage, and performance information from start to finish. Once that curriculum map is in the system, what should be able to happen is you should be able to connect courses directly to it, courses of lessons and assessments and other things that you're using for educational material. And those lessons and assessments need to be able to be alignable to the items within the curriculum map that you're trying to cover, whether it's a standard or another curriculum element, either a skill or a key concept or an essential question or a vocabulary word, any of those kinds of curriculum elements that you're going to plan for and use within your curriculum mapping process. So what we did is decided, you know, let's start with the end in mind. We employed some Grant Wiggins UBD to really talk through, hey, if your curriculum map is what you need to have covered by the end of the year, then that should form the foundation of your reporting. And so now within Ogment, you actually create your reports by creating your curriculum map. So the minute you've made your curriculum map, you have the foundation for the reports you want to issue to your classes and to your teachers, and also just to keep track of what's going on in your district. So in that way, the curriculum map actually forms that left side grid that you're looking to compare against, and then you can see course by course within Ogment not only how a course is performing against the curriculum map in terms of what's aligned and how it's being used in the classroom and how the students are performing against it, but also how other teachers or other courses are doing the same thing. Now that comparison point is not necessarily a referendum. It's not necessarily to say somebody's doing better than somebody else. What it's really all about is showing, hey, this is how I'm doing it. Here's my strategy, and here's this other strategy, and let's just see how these are working towards the same purpose, but also under the same umbrella. So in Ogment, what you can do is take all of your content and curriculum that you currently have worked on, and you can pull it into the system. So you can create and collect content. Over here we show you the graph organizers, files, OER, images, tech enhanced questions, articles, videos, premium content. All of those things can be pulled in and or created within Ogment. We shake hands with any content provider that will shake back. Within the curriculum mapping process, you can build your curriculum maps so that they are live documents. So they are not something that you're going to just make once and push out, and then if you have to make a change to it, you're going to push out a new version. You can actually make changes to it as it's being used in the system by anybody who's working with that curriculum map. So that curriculum map can have standards, any number of curriculum elements, selected resources in it, and then courses can be created against that curriculum map. And all a course is in here is a collection of lessons and assessments that are being used to teach a particular grade subject or a particular topic. It does not need to be a 180-day course. It doesn't even have to be a 90-day course. It could be a 5-day course. But that's just the place where you're going to gather all of that material so that you can then align it against the curriculum map. Within each of the courses, you can create differentiated instruction, which means you can actually create a different experience for each student. Most likely, you're not going to go down to potentially that level, but you can create differentiations to address issues within your classroom for different sets of students, different skill sets, different approaches to learning. And then you can present either in front of the class, small group, or individualized. In Ogment, administrators have an account, students have an access point, teachers, of course, have an access point, and parents have an access point. So you can see, parents can go in and view how their students are doing against the lessons and against the curriculum maps that they've been presented to cover the material that they need to cover within those particular courses. You can collaborate with your colleagues at any step across the process. We are completely connected within Google Classroom as well as Canvas. So if you're a Google Classroom user and you're also a Canvas user, you're covered here within the program. And then end-to-end tracking and analytics is embedded throughout this program so that we can see, how the usage is of particular pieces of material. All right. So let's head in. Just going to show you, if you are in your Canvas account, you actually will see inside, if you've embedded Ogment, once you've decided you want to actually play around and explore with Ogment, you can go into courses, and then you'll have the Ogment editor within a course, and then you'll have the ability to access it directly from within your Canvas account. You can either work inside of your the embedded screens within Canvas, or you can just launch Ogment in a new tab. Either way, they are a connected experience, so don't worry about whether or not you're going to lose something if you're doing the embedded version or you're working with it in a separate screen. But once you're actually inside, and I'm just going to pull you back over here and show you what it looks like if you decided to go through and work within the program on a full screen. As a teacher, as a teacher, you're going to have access, or as an administrator, you're going to have access to an area called My Stuff. It's where you're going to be building out the various things that you want to create to teach your classes or to monitor those classes of students. Within Ogment, you have access to an assignment manager. That's where you're going to sign out the material and the items that you're actually building within Ogment. You have class management. We are fully connected with Clever and also with Canvas and Active Directory. So you don't have to worry about rostering. That we can do, obviously, on the back end provisioning style. But if you are not connected in that way, you can also do self-registration as well. So you don't have to be connected through. But this is where you would manage those classes of students. This is where you would check out your progress within the classroom, and then you have professional learning communities as well. One of the biggest surprises we've had within the Ogment system is how much the professional learning communities portal is being used. A lot of our functionality within Ogment, which is done to create a curriculum and with curriculum of courses, is actually being used to create professional development within school districts as well. So we actually have some situations where the district is using Ogment to build out lessons and courses of materials that are being needed for compliance. So for example, the cafeteria group, the food safety group, the transportation group, the HR group, anybody within the school is actually starting to use this to deliver the courses and compliance materials that they have to deliver and to show that it's been delivered. So we want to make sure that we note that, while this is a course creation tool and it is aimed towards K-12, we're seeing a lot of off-label use, which is very interesting to us. We assumed that when we put in professional learning communities, people would use them for the traditional methodology of a professional learning community, where you might meet once a week to talk about best practices. You might share lessons. You might, meet with a goal orientation of establishing or dealing with a particular goal, just as you have here when you have particular PLC goals, or share best practices. But you can actually use it as a classroom for creating projects and for working with your colleagues on what you want to do in Ogment to help create a more seamless curriculum. So you have a lot of different options from within here. I'm not going to talk too much about the PLCs, but I will go into the PLC work if later on there is time and if there's questions that allow for it. Within Ogment, you also have a stream. So anything that's been created in Ogment, while you can create lessons, you can create assessments, you can pull in any kind of material that you like, the stream is actually where that would be shared with you and your colleagues. So you actually have the ability to create a stream that is a smaller version of what the district has to offer. You can just look at the full stream of everything that's coming through, which would be all curriculum maps, lessons, anything that's been published up. There's an approval process within the stream. So if you want to make sure that what's going into the stream for sharing across the district is of benefit to many people, or passes a certain level of rigor or compliance, then you can set up an approval process so that only what goes up into the stream matches that. Or you can leave the stream open and anybody can put anything up into the stream for use across the district. Within that, you can also create channels of your own. Let's say you don't really want to see everything that's coming through about grade 3 math when you're a grade 10 social studies teacher, or a high school social studies teacher. You can create your own mini channels, and you can create as many channels as you want to see only the material that is relevant to you. Notifications as well as help and your public profile are also available within here, but we're going to go back and we're going to show you about the curriculum map. So let's talk about curriculum maps just for a moment. So curriculum mapping is done in a variety of different ways across districts. Some don't even call it curriculum mapping. We know there's many different terms for it. Sometimes it's just laying out the scope and sequence. Sometimes it's really just establishing this is the number of standards we're going to cover by the end of the year. It really does take a lot of different forms. We recognize that. We've seen a lot of those different forms as we've been working on this. But let's just take a look at a common example potentially. This is a great example of a curriculum map. It has excellent goals. It has a really good strategy working throughout it. It incorporates case studies. It incorporates state framework alignments. It has assessment questions within it. It has resources embedded within it. And it also has themes and thematic essential questions within it. This is a great example of a curriculum map, but the way it's being delivered obviously is as PDF. It is static. It is not something that you can align to, and what would be better is if you could turn this into its own report. So with that, there are obviously some companies that will provide you that capability to create much more of a digital experience where you can create the curriculum map online, and then you can add things to the curriculum map, and you can maybe make attachments to various resources. But what we wanted to do was go a little bit further than that and give you the opportunity to build out a curriculum map of the elements and constructs that you see fit. And these can be made by, let's say you've got your curriculum coordinator for for high school social studies. They can create this construct any way they want. In many cases, the curriculum map is going to be different. The structure of it will obviously be different from sometimes grade to grade, but certainly from subject to subject. So even within a particular school district, we see a lot of examples of curriculum mapping where it is unit by unit. In one case, it is quarter by quarter in another, and in another sense, they're doing modules. So it really just depends on how you want to do that, but we support all of that, okay? So you can make your curriculum map in any way you want and organize it any way you want and change that in the middle if you need to, because whatever you're doing is not quite working. You have a multitude of curriculum elements to work from, and you can customize those curriculum elements. So I'm showing you the World History Grade 10 curriculum map that was donated to us by one of our users, just so that we could just sort of get a sense of, hey, here, show us how you're using this product. The way that she had done it is she worked through and said, within social studies, we are engaging in a topic-related methodology within social studies. We were going to do a standards-related methodology, but we decided to do topics instead, and we incorporated the standards within the topics. So within her curriculum map, she cares about, there's many different curriculum elements. If I star one of these, it becomes part of my favorites, and then I only have to look at these. But I'm going to take that one out because that's not actually what she wants. But within here, you can actually take any one of these particular curriculum elements, and you can create customizations for it. So for example, if I'm using vocabulary and I want to start to keep track of my vocabulary with may be subdivided into multiple different varieties of vocabulary. Whatever you do in here, however granular you wish to get for what you want to track, that's what's going to make your reporting at the end so much meatier. So it depends on what you're really after. In 90% of the cases, the only thing that the one surefire thing that goes in is going to be obviously the standards. What standards do I need to cover and when? And so that will obviously be part of the report, and anything that you align to that will be part of the report. But if you want to get even more information about, hey, we have these full vocabulary lists, we have full sets of essential questions, we have a lot of different enduring understandings, we have goals, we have several different pieces and resources that we want to pull into this, you can do all of that from within here and get as granular as you want. Now, for her purpose, she has two types of vocabulary that she needs to keep track of, academic and content. So she definitely wants to keep those as separate tags from within her system. So within here, she can actually drag in an academic vocabulary tag. Everything is drag and drop. And then she can put in critique. That might be the word that she's trying to use for academic vocabulary. She will put in the definition that she wants, which can be copy and paste, or it can be pulled from a different source. But once she's done it, it's in the system. So now this word is going to be something that she can use over and over and over again and not have to keep retyping it, and drag it over, and it will keep track of the fact that this academic vocabulary term is here, and it's also further on down in a different section. So if she opens these up, she can see that she's got different academic vocabulary terms, and she can use any one of these over and over again and drag them back out. The one that you see next to it shows you how many times it's being used in the program. And once you're in the program, it will actually show you where else it's being used. For standards, obviously the most common thing that you might want to pull in for academic vocabulary, for curriculum elements. But within the standards context, it's going to keep track of the standards that you're using. And you don't have to go through several different, you don't have to keep on selecting the standards over and over and over again. You actually just do it once. So you go in, you grab the standards. Let's grab it. We'll do academic standards for that. And I'm just going to pick a set here just to show. And we're at 5th grade. And then it will show you all of the documents that go with that. You can either view them or add to bookmark. Generally, we tell people add to bookmark. Once you've added to bookmark, you never need to see the screen again. And then what you've got within your standard set is just the standards you want to look at. So if we view that set of standards, let's say this is one of the sets of standards that I bookmarked, what you're going to see on this list is every single time that standard's been used already. It's already been referenced inside the curriculum map. So this particular standard, which is a parent standard, so that makes sense, but this particular standard has been referenced several times within the curriculum map, and it will show you exactly where. These are the areas within the curriculum map. If I click on this, it's going to take me there. I'm not going to click on it at the moment because I want to stay here at this screen just to show you something else. But within here, you actually can grab any one of these. Let's just grab this one. This is going to, I'm sure, create some confusion. For now, it's got a marker next to it, and it will show you, if I were to go over into here, it will also show you how that curriculum map, how that standard is being applied in context. So if I were to click on this standard, let's say this is not open, and I'm just over here and I'm looking at a particular standard. If I click on show in context, it's going to show me exactly where that standard came from. If I try to drag over a parent standard, it's going to take that standard and ask me if I want to, let's see, browse standards, show the bookmarks. It's going to ask me if I grab a parent standard, did you mean to grab the whole thing? Do you want to grab the parent and the children? So if I compare present events with past events, it can tell, it will let me either select all of them, some of them, or just the parent, or just some of the children, but you never lose your context. That's the most important thing about the system. Okay, so now you've created that curriculum map. Each one of these units is obviously, it's a tree structure. Each one of these units has your curriculum elements in it that you need to cover for this particular curriculum map. And now, if you are back out into the system, once this is published for people to look at, then you're going to have the capability to create courses off of it. So within that course structure, here's a course. This is what a teacher would open this, and maybe they would work together to create one course and all use it together, or they would create any number of courses. They each have their own course. So we go into here to third quarter, and we see the World War I. And within here, I have added lessons. So I'm creating, my first section is the section I'm going to talk about here is World War I. I've got several lessons from within here. I've got the main causes of war, spark and start, life in the trenches, Russian America and home front, and etc. And then I've also got a test at the end. I also can align, obviously, my curriculum map directly to it. Once these are published and they're out there in the system, you can do any amount of alignment that you want to it, and that is part of the reporting. So you'll see over here that in this curriculum map, this standard is actually covered 4 times. It's hit 4 times in this course. And if I click on it, it's going to show me, if I were to scroll, it will show me the rest of this coverage and all 4 times, and I can click on those and it will take me directly to that if I need further proof that it's been covered there. This is just your desktop and your workspace if you're trying to create and align a course. And you don't have to be, super duper involved and creative about necessarily going full bore into the lesson creation. You can use the course to create an outline of here's what I am going to cover today. So you can use it to lesson plan and really just stop there. You don't have to go as far into it as I'm about to show you, but this is a capability within the system, so it's very interesting to be able to show that. So alignments obviously happen within the system. Any one of these things can be drag and drop. So you drag any one of these over. These have all been aligned already, so the alignments are already here within this lesson. But if I want to go in and show you what what a lesson might look like, you have the capability within the program to create your own lessons and to develop those lessons in a way that can just be assigned directly out to your students. So we're just going to show you one of those real quick. The main causes of World War I, here's a great example of that lesson creator. This is what it might look like. If I were presenting this in front of the class, it's going to keep track of my notes. If I'm presenting it to my students, they have access and they can go through the experience as an interactive assignment. So I've got my access down here. These are my breadcrumbs and my my map of what I'm doing and what I've got, what I have to cover within the program, and I can obviously skip to. So we're going to open with a brainstorm. We're going to do a definition, the difference between nationalism and imperialism. What is the definition of the topic you chose, why and how? Could your topic lead to war? You can include rubrics with this as well. So rubrics can go with any written assignment, but this is obviously an example of a manually graded piece, something that you could put out there as a bell ringer or an essay. And then as we move forward, you can pull in any kind of material you want. This particular teacher had a lot of PowerPoint slides that she had spent a long time creating, but what she was missing in PowerPoint is she didn't have that ability to assign it out and have interactivity and track the usage of what she was giving out. Hey, did the student actually read the assignment? Did they watch the video? How did they answer the question? So she really wanted to take her PowerPoints to the next level. So she actually just went with our capability here. Oh, I just want to see if we've got a chat question. All right, I'm going to check that later, private question. I just want to make sure we weren't having any sort of audio issues. All right, so moving forward, she also had a lot of videos that she loves to use, right? So she throws those videos, which you can pull into Ogment, whole cloth. You can grab videos with the clipper from typical web, we have a web clipper that comes with the program, so you can grab your videos from anywhere you like, provided that those videos are allowed to be pulled in. But you can pull those videos in, and then
the consequences of the Great War were massive and affected pretty much every person in every country on Earth.
And once you get to, you can just have the video play, that's fine, and the students can
of what it is now.
But you can also have the video have a little bit more of an interactive element to it, so that when it hits these particular points in time, you can introduce a question or a resource or a piece of instruction or a graphic organizer. Any of those things can be the thing that's going to create the interstitial. So go ahead and answer that, and then continue playing.
But why the Great War? Why start it? Why go through with it?
And now we hit the next one. Fill in the blank with the correct term, and just to give you an idea. So we have some drag and drop that you can use. And I'm just going to skip through just to show you some other things that she's done here. So select all that apply. So this is actually a multi-select. And also obviously another essay question. And then she's got a PowerPoint that she loves to walk through. This is her lecture. And so she goes through this screen and her students are on this screen, on the second screen. And they're using the Cornell notes to take notes about her PowerPoint. And then she also has some quick quizzes in here. So she's grabbed some images and now she wants to have a drag and drop assignment. And I'm just going to kind of put these in every which place, whether they're correct or not. And let's just say we don't actually put them all in because we're missing one. Okay. So you can see sort of some of the things that she's done to create an environment where she's creating a lesson, but it also has the check your understandings embedded throughout. So this is basically how she's chosen to use Ogment, is she creates one lesson for the day, and that's what she goes through. If she doesn't make it all the way through, that's fine. It continues on to the next day. So she's tried to incorporate as much of the material that she needs so that she can just turn this on and then she can focus more specifically on students who are needing help. You don't have to have a one-to-one experience for this to work. Very many of our users actually are not in a one-to-one environment. They're actually using this with their projector, and they're just showing it on, and they're using it as they'll actually have their students just use paper, pencil to keep track sometimes, or they'll just use it as part of their lecture, or they'll send it home with students who weren't able to make it to class that day. So I'm going to take you out of here now. She's doing. You can have a lot of fun with the the lesson editor. So I'll just show you that real quick, what it looks like. So inside the lesson editor, everything in the program is drag and drop. That's really what you want to make sure we get across to everybody. If you choose to use it to this level, you can do that. Sometimes we just have folks who want to go in and they just want to say, here, I'm going to cover this. These are the alignments. Remember those alignments we dragged over? This is what I'm covering today. I might put some notes in here, but I'm done after that. I just want to keep track of what I'm covering today. I'm not actually trying to build a full experience in here, but at least with this level, I can have a sense of what I actually did cover, how many times I covered something, what I didn't get to. But in here, the lesson editor is drag and drop. You can pull in resources, you can create those alignments, and then you have tools, several different question types, several different graphic organizers, and a lot more that we really just can't get to with a short period of time. But I do invite any questions that we may have right now with our few minutes remaining. And I do thank you all for joining me today. Do we have any questions? And if you want to ask a question, please do feel free to unmute your line.
Joanna, we do have a question from Catherine Davis. She asked, so this is an e-learning authoring tool as well?
That is correct.
Yep.
You can create virtual courses within here. You don't have to go to that level. We want to make sure we understand that there are a lot of users who are coming in here and they're saying, I need my curriculum maps in here, I need my resources in here, and I want to be able to give my teachers and my teammates the ability to keep track of what they're covering within a course, but not necessarily going to the level of building out full lessons. Not everybody's going to do that, and that's okay. That the whole point here is to have it all be trackable against that curriculum map so that you have a sense of what's being covered and when within it. But we do have folks who are using it for full bore. Everything is in here. They've got their lessons in here. They've created assessments that are being used across the district, and they're really reaping a lot of benefit from seeing the pacing that they've sort of put together within that curriculum map. Is that pacing working? How much more time should I be spending on this topic? So it's just really up to you as to what you want to get out of that. Any other questions?
We do have a question from Paul. He wanted to know if we have any examples of a community college using this tool.
Very good question. We're actually in the process of working with a couple of community colleges right now to determine how they would like to use it. Because as you might imagine, you have a lot of overlap, right? When I move off into community college, it doesn't mean I walk away from having a need for a comprehensive curriculum mapping and course creation structure. So we're actually doing some of that work right now, the initial stages of how they want to see that work done and how much of it is going to be given over to the faculty members as opposed to just being used to manage the curriculum maps and the courses against that. So it's really a matter at this point. We're having some questions around what is to be expected of the faculty members and their use of the program at the community college level. So it's a very good question. Yeah. Absolutely. Any more questions? Okay, I really thank you. I'm going to end it 1 minute early so that everybody can get back and enjoy the rest of your day. If you have any questions for me, and if more questions show up in the chat, I will take those offline. And I think we have your content. We have your email, so we will go ahead and get those answers back to you, especially if it's something you just want to ask on the side. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate your time today, and have a good one.
Thank you all.